Let's learn a bit more about lists. In the previous video, we covered the basic operations. We learned how to create a list, how to calculate list length, how to retrieve a list element, and reassign the value of any list element. We also learned how to deal with nested lists, how to retrieve slices from a list, and finally we talk about concatenation and repetition. We will start learning about list methods. List comes with quite useful methods that are ready to be used, and I will show you how to access and use them. When we create a variable, we can check its data type by using the type function. In that example, we have a variable called colors, and then we assign to that list 3 elements: white, blue, and pink. Now, if I want to display in the terminal the type of that variable, we just need to type print, we call that function called type, and the variable name. If I run that script, how we call Python, and the name of the Python script, we get class and list. List is the data type, but what is that class thing doing here? We did not talk about class yet, but it basically defines data types. A class is a collection of attributes and methods from where objects are created. That line is telling us that it's not only a list, but an object of data type list. You will find yourself using the dot notation to access methods and attributes from objects in Python. That's because everything in Python is an object. Colors, in that example, is an object of data type list, and we can access its attributes and methods using the dir function. Let me show you that. To use the dir function, you just type dir, and as argument, you just give what you want to check or to inspect. Now, if I want to display that in the terminal, we just call the function called print, and then we save and run our code. Class list, again, it's here because line 7 is again printing the type of colors, and now we get also the result from print dir colors, and then we get that list. We first see those underscore underscore something underscore underscore, and that's what we call special methods, and we will not talk about special methods at this moment. What we are interested in is those without the underscore underscore. In that case, append, clear, all the way up to sort. So those methods are there. So any list can be using those methods. And how can I call that method now? And now it comes the dot notation. What is the name of our list? Colors dot. You see that now, in my case, I get all the methods here. I can use append, clear, cop, count, extend. So exactly all the methods you see on your terminal. So we're gonna be learning one by one. The first list method we're gonna learn is called index. An index just returns the index of a given element. In that example, we have a list called names, and as elements we have Rodrigo, Bob, and Oli. If I now want to retrieve the index from Bob, you just need to type the name of the variable, or the name of that list, use the dot notation. So when you use the dot notation, you then have access to the different methods from that list, and then you type index. And now as argument, you just add the element you want to retrieve its index. Let's run that code. I say Python, the name of the file, and we get 1. Why do you get 1? Because index in Python starts with 0. Therefore, Oli should be 2. Yes. Now what you can do, imagine you have a very large list. You can check if that element is contained inside that list, and if yes, you print that index. So let's do that. Let's say let's use Rodrigo. So we know that Rodrigo is in that list. So I check if Rodrigo is in name. What we do, we print names dot index Rodrigo. If I save it, let's just comment those lines, clean our terminal, and run. Now it prints 0 because 0 is the index from the first element. If I now type another name which is not included in that list, let's say Jesse, it doesn't return anything. So I run it again. Look, why? Because that expression evaluates as false. Therefore, the body of that if statement is not executed. The next list method we're gonna learn is called append. And as the name suggests, append only appends an item to a given list. Let me just comment that code and uncomment the append example. So how to use it? Again, we are working with that list called names, and I want to append Jackie to that list. How to do that? You just type the name of the list, use the dot notation and the method you want to use. And as argument, you just give the element you want to add. I will save it and run it. Now you see that names just got Jack added. And when you use append, by default, that element will always be added in the end of that list. Perfect. What if you want to add a list? We can do that. We can say names, use the dot notation, append, and then let's add our list. I will call the first element John and the second element Mary. Now if I want to print names, let me clear my screen. We get Rodrigo, Bob, All, and Jackie. That's because we just use append in the line 26, and in the line 29 we append a list. Note that you don't have a concatenation of a list. What you have that list added as an element. So that's gonna be a sublist of the list called names. Remember that append will always append that item to the end of the list. If you want to have more control over where you want to add it, we should be using a method called insert. Let me comment the append example and bring the insert example. To use the insert method, we need to provide two arguments. The first one is the index or the location where you want to add that item, and the second argument is the item itself. Again, we're going to be working with that list called names, and now I want to insert Walt in the very first position and Jesse, let's say, in the second position. If I save that code, clean my screen, and run that script, now names list contains Walt, Jesse, Rodrigo, Bob, and Ollie. Again, if you want to choose where to add your item, you should go for insert. If you just want to add the item to the end of the list, you should be using append. To remove an item from a list, we can use the remove method. Let me show you. I will comment the insert example and bring the remove one. Again, we're gonna work with that names list. Now I want to remove Rodrigo. How to do that? We call the list, so we just type the list name, use the dot notation, and type the remove, which is the method. Now, as argument, you just give the item you want to remove. Now, if I run that code, you see that I just get Bobby and Ollie, so Rodrigo was just removed. What's happened if I try to remove something which is not included in that list? So let's say Walt. If I run it, we get an error and then it says what you are trying to remove, it's not in the list. So to solve that, we can easily check if that element is in the list. How to do that? We type if the element you want to check, for instance Walt, in names, and then you say remove it. Perfect. In the end, I'm gonna print the list. Let's see what we get. Our list now is Rodrigo, Bob, and Ollie. So nothing happened to the list. Why? Because that if statement here, or that expression, returned false. Therefore, the body of that if statement was not executed. Now, if I type Ollie, I say remove Ollie. If I run that script, we get now just Rodrigo and Bob. Why? Because Ollie is included in that list. The second way to remove an item from a list is to use the pop method. Unlike remove, the pop method asks for the index argument. I will show you. I will comment the remove example and bring the pop one. Now, again, same list, Rodrigo, Bob, and Ollie. Now I want to remove Rodrigo. Again, unlike remove, I will not give the element itself, but its index. I will save it, run it, and see we get Bobby and Ollie. To remove Ollie, I just give her index, which is 2. I save it, run the script. Now I just have Rodrigo and Bob. In case you want to delete all the existing elements of a list, you can use the clear method. Let me show you. Let's comment the pop example and bring the clear one. So now, again, our list called names, and I want to clear that list. For that, we use the clear method. How? Just call the list name, use the dot notation, and that clear method has no argument. You just type clear, open and close brackets, and that's it. Now I save that code, run the script, and look what we get. We get an empty list. So all the elements are gone. Now it's a bonus because it's not really a method from a list, but you can also delete elements of a list using the del function from Python. So that's why I wrote here bonus. Again, we have our name list, and we can delete the first element or the second one on the third using the names, open and close the square brackets, and you give the index. Now let me just delete Bobby. Bob is the index 1. If I run that script, we get only Rodrigo and Ollie. If I want to delete Rodrigo, as you may already know, just use 0, run that script, and that's it. Ollie and Ollie. Again, del, it's a function which is built in Python. It's not really a method, so that's a bonus. Our next method is called extend, and there is a confusion between extend and append, and I want to clear it out. Let me just comment the bonus example and bring the extend one. Now, we want to extend the names list, giving Walt and Jack to that. How to do that? We just type the name of the list you want to modify. So in that case, names, use the dot notation and type extend. Now, as an argument, it must be a list. Let me save it and run that script. Now you see that Walt and Jack were just added to that initial list, which was just Rodrigo, Bob, and Ollie. Now, append does a different thing. If I just copy that example, now I'll just actually change here, and I show you what's gonna be the result of append. Look the difference. Here is the result of extend, and now we have the result of append. And append gives that list as an item. So that list is gonna be a sublist of that names list. That difference should be clear to you. Append and extend are not the same thing. They are completely different methods. Our next method is called count, and count returns the number of times a given element appears in the list. Let me show you. I will comment the extend example and uncomment the count one. Okay, here we have a list called letters, and we have A, B, C, and some of those letters repeat themselves. Now I want to check how many times I see the letter A in that list, also letter B and letter C. How to do that? You just type the name of the list, the dot notation, and call the count method. Now you just give the element you want to test. If I save it and run that code, we get 2, 3, 1, which means A appears 2 times in that list, B appears 3 times, and C just appears once. Alright, the next method is quite useful, and that's the reverse method. As the name says, it's gonna reverse a given list. Now we have a number list, they are all integer or data type integer, and I want to get the opposite. So here I have 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. I want to get as a result 2, 1, 5, 4, 3. If we run that code, we get 3, 4, 5, 1, 2 because that's the original list. And now if I reverse that list, now we're gonna get 2, 1, 5, 4, 3. Perfect. But now, what if I want to sort that list? For that, we use the sort method. Let me show you. Let me just uncomment the sort method. And we have again the numbers list, which contains 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, and we want to sort it. Remember that by default, the sort method is gonna rearrange the elements in ascending order. If I save it, run that script, you see that my original list is 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, and now we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. However, the sort has a very interesting argument called reverse, and by default that's assigned to false, but we can assign it to true, and now run that script. We're gonna get that list in the descending order. There you are. We covered the following methods: index, append, insert, remove, pop, clear, extend, count, reverse, and sort. There is just one method missing, and that's the copy method. As it can bring to your code some unexpected behavior, I will have a video only on that. For now, that's everything I had to say. Thank you for watching.